and welcome to the 2017 edition of the OVO Energy Women's Tour. Now into its fourth year, this race has established itself as a key event in the women's road racing calendar. After the Grand Depart in Daventry, Stage 1 winds through Northamptonshire to Kettering. Stage 2 visits the Potteries, with the start and finish in Stoke-on-Trent. The third stage is the longest of the tour, running from Atherstone to Royal Leamington Spa. Chesterfield is the base for Stage 4, and the hilly loop of the Derbyshire countryside could prove decisive. And the tour ends with a spectacular finish around the streets of London. Well, it's a beautiful, blustery start to the day here in Daventry. Looking forward to getting the race underway. Alongside me all week, Rochelle Gilmore. Rochelle, it's an extended race. We've had a look at the overview there. It's a challenging course. We're looking forward to this, aren't we?
Oh, I just can't wait to get started. I mean, it's been, for me, the build-up since the start of the season to this race. It's become the most important race on the calendar for so many teams and athletes. And everybody's fired up, everybody's positive. They want to have a good race here, so really looking forward to it.
And it's a stage race, and that brings added significance to where it sits in the racing calendar, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had the classic season where we've seen the build-up for all the classics riders, and now we have the first really big tour. And the reason that it feels so important is because every team has their best riders here for this tour. So it's surely going to be a very, very competitive race.
Now, having taken a look at the overview and the route for this year's race, it's challenging, isn't it? It's been extended and there's some very long days in the saddle.
And I think that's what the athletes really like about this race. I mean, coming to the UK and racing, a lot of the riders were thinking initially it was going to be a pretty flat terrain. But every year it's got a little bit harder and harder, and now there's some really big sprinters missing from the start line because it's such a tough race.
Tell me about riding in the UK. It's different, isn't it? The terrain and the way that the crowds react. It's something very different to riding on the continent for these riders.
Absolutely, and I think like a race like today should be, the first stage of the women's tour should be calm and rolling, and everybody's talking about it's just going to split to bits, because when you get in front of these crowds, and the organisation's so professional as well, and there's a little bit of wind here today, it's dead roads, we could see anything happen, and that's the thing, it's such unpredictable racing.
Unpredictable, but last year was anything but. It was all about one woman.
We are on the cusp of something special. Armitstead now beginning to apply the pressure. She is going clear of the rest. Armitstead is going to win stage 3. It's all about the yellow jersey. Lizzie Armitstead crosses the line, and she's the winner of the 2016 Aviva Women's Tour.
Winning at home is special because it translates to everybody what I do for a living. You know, I disappear all the time and no one knows where I am from my friends and my family. They wonder, you know, what I'm doing, and it's nice to kind of show them what I do, and they get an appreciation of how big the sport has become, and they're a real part of it. They're a part of my victory, which is really special.
What kind of rider is it going to suit, do you think? Somebody like yourself, obviously, having won it in the past, but who do you think is the type of rider that can come to the fore here?
This stage race is an interesting one because of the bonus seconds, so it suits an all-rounder really. You need to be able to sprint, I think, to win this stage race. So it's wide open, really. And
so where do you think you are then? I know you've had some time doing some base work, training hard. Where do you think you sit at the moment?
I think I'm in a really good place. I've trained in Yorkshire for the last 3 weeks, and it's pretty relentless, pretty similar to the terrain that we're going to face. So I'm pretty confident going into it. I am looking to build form though for the national championships. I've not done any sprint work, so I'll be relying on my natural speed in the sprints rather than anything that I've built up. So we'll see.
And what about your team particularly? You come in with a very strong team. You will be marked from start to finish.
Yeah, we're used to being marked. It's how we like to be. We like to race aggressively and with a strong team. We like to really take the race head on, and yeah, the harder the race, the better for us, really.
And a word on the final stage in London. You're familiar with racing on that big stage. Obviously, we see you in the Le Course as well in Paris. But what will it mean to you and the rest of the women to be in London on Sunday?
For me, it's all about London 2012, the memories that will come back. I think I will finish my career and look back on London as one of the most special periods of my career, and to be able to race there and kind of reminisce is a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it.
and we'll see great crowds, great support as always. I think that's a little bit special as well, isn't it?
Yeah, British support is like no other. I think rain or shine, there'll be people there waving their flags and getting excited about it, and that makes me proud to be a British woman.
So Lizzie Deignan, of course, the winner last year. All three winners of this race have been big names. It's taken a big challenger to take that victory. Lizzie sounds very determined this year, doesn't she, Rochelle?
She does, absolutely, and she comes in with the strongest team on paper behind her, and in fact any of her teammates could possibly win this race. So it's going to be so interesting what tactics come into play, because like you said, the three past winners are all here. They all think that they can win, but I think the real interesting thing about this year's race is going to be that Marianne Vos has just come on to top form in the last couple of weeks. So we might just see that showdown between Lizzie Deignan and Marianne Vos.
All the top riders are here, as you've said, and one thing's for sure, it's not going to be a sprinter that's going to win this race, it's not going to be a climber that's going to win this race, it's going to be a rider who can do everything.
They need to be able to do everything, and they need to be mentally tough. They need to be confident, you know, a little bit cocky, they need to be strategic. You need to have everything, and that's why we've seen the class of winner at this race is a very, very big name, because you've just got to have it all, and it's all got to go perfect the whole week.
And I think also one thing that they've all talked about is you need to be alert on these roads. You need to have your wits about you from start to finish.
That's right. A lot of riders will go into some races on the first day of a tour saying, okay, stay relaxed today, stay relaxed. But in fact, going into the first day of this race, you need to be completely alert. You can't miss a thing, because the race can be won and lost on today's stage, on any stage at any moment. So it's a very tense race right from start till finish.
Well, we've heard from Lizzie, and of course we've mentioned some of the big contenders here. Let's hear from some of the riders.
A race like this can be decided everywhere. You can lose it everywhere, that's the thing, but it's hard to win it because you have to be there every single moment. You can have mechanical crashes, whatever. But yeah, if you look to the map, stage 4 looks the toughest. But also the first 3 days will be very, very important, and especially with the wind like this, yeah, it can happen every moment.
Last year here at the race, you came second overall. Can you go one better this year?
Obviously that is the aim. I think it's obviously a very exciting race. There isn't one particular point that we can pin it down to, so I think every day is going to be a new day with lots of excitement hopefully, and of course we'll do our best as a team.
How's your condition coming into the race?
My condition is pretty good. I'm feeling really good the last few races, so I'm really looking forward to racing the UK and the Women's Tour this week. And yeah, I have a really good team who's backing me up today, so I'm looking forward to today.
It's really, really important for me as a British rider to ride this race. Yeah, one of the most important races for me this season. It's always amazing to race on home roads with the British support, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this race this week.
And who would be the biggest contenders for the GC to win this tour this year?
Well, of course, Lizzie is always a big contender. She's obviously it's home territory for her, and she has a very strong team now, obviously with Bulls. But yeah, there are many riders here. I mean, Wiggle with Elisa. It could come down to sprints and seconds, so of course we can't count sprinters out. And yeah, Marianne Vos with her team, and yeah, I think it's going to be a very strong field and an exciting race.
Well, we'll see the riders on the start line very shortly. And Rochelle, it's a little bit blustery here this morning. We had a lot of rain yesterday. More rain is forecast over the course of the week. What will be going through the minds of the riders this morning? You can't win the race this morning, but you can certainly put yourself in a bad position.
You can, absolutely. So I think a lot of riders will be super, super nervous because there's a bit of wind and so many strong teams here. So you can't afford to roll off the start line on day one relaxed. You need to be really, really alert. So I think there's a lot of nervous riders that'll be thinking, okay, stay focused to get near the front, you know. So I think it'll be a very jittery, nervous start.
Great, can't wait to get it underway. Let's just take a look at what the riders will be facing over the course of stage 1. At just over 147 kilometres, stage 1 is the second longest of the tour. The first challenge will be the Skoda Queen of the Mountains climb at Hazel Beach. Desborough hosts the opening iceberg sprint, then it's on to Rockingham Hill for the second classified climb of the day. There's another sprint at Oundle before the riders head to the finish in Kettering. Daventry is steeped in history, from its Roman roots to its development as a market town from the 13th century onwards. The town became an important stop on the coaching routes from London to the Midlands, and its central location and great transport links mean Daventry remains an attractive location for businesses to this day. Located in Northamptonshire, Kettering is surrounded by beautiful countryside. The town is a mix of old and new, with historic buildings sitting alongside regenerated areas which will provide the backdrop for today's finish. So tell me, why did OVO Energy decide to become involved in supporting the Women's Tour?
So I suppose we've always been interested in looking at more innovative ways of getting our message across and explaining that we do things in a different way. And last year we sponsored the Bristol stage of the Tour of Britain, and we felt that we'd extend our commitment this year to both the Women's Tour and the Tour of Britain. And I suppose we are focused very much on powering a sustainable future for the energy system, which is better for everyone, through the use specifically of smart technology. And there's a lot of synergies between the world of energy and the world of cycling.
So it's time to get the 2017 OVO Energy Women's Tour underway. Stage 1 from Daventry to Kettering, with commentary from Hugh Porter and Sharon Laws.
Thank you, Jill. Before the rollout, a minute's silence was observed out of respect for the recent London attacks.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Stage 1 of the OVO Energy Women's Tour. It'll take the riders from Daventry to Kettering, a distance of 147 kilometres. And right alongside me is Sharon Laws, winner of the Queen of the Mountains in the first edition of this tour. And Sharon, this is going to be a cracking race. There are national road champions, Olympic champions and world champions. Just how do you think this first stage is going to go?
Well, it's a very long stage, 147.5 kilometres. It's going to be very hard. It's quite windy out there. I think we're probably expecting a sprint finish normally. Twice it's been a sprint finish in Kettering, but very exciting.
Massive crowds have turned out to support the race, and really it's going to be about two teams, I would suggest, and that's going to be Bowles Dolmans and the other squad, Wiggle High Five.
Yes, I'd agree with that. They're the two strongest teams out on the road.
There are other, of course, very strong squads. WM3 Pro Cycling, led by the winner of the first edition, Marianne Vos, and also in her team is the Dutch champion, Anouska Costa. Now, that is also a strong outfit.
Yes, so it's strong, maybe quite a younger group, but some very strong riders, and obviously Marianne's very experienced in this race.
And it's noticeable this year that the stages have been lengthened significantly.
Yes, and all the riders have commented on that. It's significantly longer, particularly if you compare it to the very first tour of Women's Tour.
Was a hand up there for Emily Farlin, the Swedish rider on the Wiggle High Five team. And it's a great opportunity, isn't it, for the kids to get out of the classroom. They absolutely love it. They come to the roadside and roar the race on. But we're heading on now towards kilometre 0, and then the race will be on for real. Champion of Luxembourg, just on the right there, Mazurus, stage winner in this event before. And of course, if it did come down to a sprint, there's some very fast finishers.
Yes, and of course she's won a stage before.
There on the right is the winner of the first edition. I'd already mentioned that, Marianne Vos, arguably the greatest bike rider of all time when it comes to the women's racing. What's she doing there? She's sending a text.
Looks like she could have a problem with her radio, which is not great, given that she needs to communicate to her teammates.
So he's just getting the radio organised so that she can communicate with the team car. Speed now beginning to lift, and it is good to see glorious sunny conditions today, but there is a blustery wind about, and it's going to be a headwind in the closing stages.
Yes, and Alice Barnes and Hannah both commented on the wind today.
So we're heading on now towards kilometre 0. In fact, there it is. And immediately they sweep past it. The race is now on. This is the 4th edition of the Women's Tour. There are 2 sprints today in the Iceberg Sprints competition and 2 climbs in the Skoda Queen of the Mountains. The big field are all still together, and we're getting very close to the opening climb in the Skoda Queen of the Mountains competition. That's at Hasselbeck, and it is a third category climb, so there are points for the first 4 over the line. Well, the caption just confirmed that Georgia Baker, the 22-year-old Australian on the Orica Scott team, has abandoned. We did get news through on race radio she was involved in a crash earlier on. So there it is, the start of the climb. Now, how will the riders be approaching this at the front?
Well, you can see here it's really narrow roads, very important to be in the right position, and obviously now if you're not near the front it's way too late.
Well, you can see that the field is thinning out, a long line at the back, and it is beginning to fragment, so the severity, the pace being whipped up at the front is causing all sorts of problems here for these riders.
Yeah, there's already riders off the back.
So the front of the field stretching from each side because these are very, very narrow roads. As I said earlier, there is quite a wind blowing, which could indicate some echelon style racing, but on roads as narrow as this, then we don't expect echelons to form. Right at the front there, it's thinning out, which means riders are beginning to get themselves organised for the sprint to the top. It's 1.4 kilometres long, this climb.
Yeah, Niewiadoma's on the front. She's an excellent climber. She looks like she's setting the pace.
Niewiadoma is the national Polish champion, just dancing on those pedals. She's been complaining about knee trouble, but at the moment, looking at her style, there's no indication of that problem. So Niewiadoma at the front, and right at the back we've got riders struggling here. This is Frapporti, the Italian on the high-tech products team, and she's losing contact.
Yeah, look at the difference in the cadence style between those two.
So they all have different styles when the road ramps up. Some are out of the saddle, some find a nice pedalling rhythm, and all are looking forward now. These are the riders who no doubt have got ideas of trying to score points and probably try and challenge for the Queen of the Mountains title. But look here at the front now, it has broken into 2 significant groups.
You can see Shara Gillows there, second wheel, Ashley Moorman behind her, both of those very good climbers.
So Moolman Passio was the rider that finished second overall in this contest last year, and already at the back struggling going on with the rest, but still at the front it's Niewiadoma just finding a very, very nice rhythm as the summit is getting closer.
Anna van der Breggen's also, oh, there's an attack here. I think that's Audrey Cordon.
So
yes, she's a French rider.
And it is Cordon that sweeps over the line first, so Cordon of Wiggle High 5 takes the 4 points at the top. Timed her effort to perfection there, the 27-year-old French woman.
She easily took that too. It didn't look like Kasia Niewiadoma was actually going for that.
And a derailed chain here is causing riders to stop, or a rider to stop. And now then, work to do for these. Let me confirm the result. It was Cordon Rago for the 4 points, Niewiadoma second for 3, Gillow got the 2, and Van der Breggen, the Olympic champion, just picking up the 1. Now the riders that have been distanced off the back here are certainly going to have to engage the big gears and try and get back to the peloton. So the race is now in East Farndon, and riders are still struggling to get back into contention, and that is in the comfort zone of the peloton. As we show the profile here, and you get an indication of just where the race is. A long way to go, and there's a lot of hard racing. Well, there's a bike change here, and it's for the rider from Lensworld Kyoto, and she's faced with quite a hard chase to get back.
Yeah, that's going to be a real struggle. A different bike as well. And look, all the cars are going past her now.
And it looks like Confalonieri, the Italian, 24 years of age, but she's certainly not comfortable. She's going to have to really look sharp here, otherwise she's going to be in for a long, lonely ride. Meanwhile, right at the back of the peloton, we've got Rachel Neylan on the Orica Scott team. The pace beginning to whip up now at the front.
Yeah, you can see Bigler there, all on the front. It looks like they're organising, ready for the sprint.
Yep, you're right there. They're setting themselves up to give a lead out to the rider who they feel has got the best legs for the sprint.
Yeah, interestingly, they don't have their top sprinter Lotte Lepisto racing today, so it'll be interesting to see who they're going for. Ashley's sitting third wheel.
Yeah, Lotte Lepisto was the winner of this stage actually last year into Kettering. Shot of riders still struggling to get on the back here, and this is a cracking lead out then by Cervello Bigla for the first in the Iceberg Sprints competition of the race. This is at Desborough after 55.2 kilometres, and there's been a lot of pace injected here, and there's others getting involved as well.
Yeah, WM3 are also there.
So WM3 trying to get involved, and they'll be looking after the interest, no doubt, of Anouska Costa, the Dutch champion, and Marianne Vos. Right, now this is the big surge now for the line. Remember, there is 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1 second as they cross.
Yeah, that's still Bigler going. And there's Katie Archibald on the outside.
Yeah, Katie Archibald, who is a world and Olympic champion. There she is, the Scot on the extreme right. Well, never knows her own strength as Archibald. She fancies trying to get the 3 seconds. The Scot now bringing the peloton forward.
And Marianne Vos is on the right there. You can see her world champion stripes on her arms in the green helmet.
And there are 1 or 2 others looking here for an opportunity to get the 3 seconds. Look at this for a sprint now. That's how determined they are on the line. They threw the bikes at the line. Quite difficult, really, to split them. Who do you reckon got that then, Sharon?
I think it's possible that Lisa Klein, yes, it's just come up. Lisa Klein from Bigler, she's actually a track specialist.
Confirmation of the result, it was Jolene Dorr, the Belgian, World Marathon champion second, Amy Peters third. We're just about halfway through this opening stage of the OVO Energy Women's Tour. You can see the caption just confirming that. Now the next obstacle to come up is going to be Rockingham Hill, and this is quite a hard climb, 1 kilometre long.
Yeah, you can see Sunweb on the front now, really ramping up the pace. Ellen Van Dijk's in second wheel, she's a very strong rider.
You'll know this climb as well, Sharon, because you've raced up it when you've competed in the Tour.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think I was so good on this one. It's short, but it's very steep, so it actually kind of favours more the sprinter types rather than pure climbers. Look, you can see how it's kicking up now.
Yep, the pace really is beginning to whip up, and it is Sunweb right on the front. It'll be interesting to see where Audrey Cordon places on this ascent. She was first over the first at Hasselbeck, where she picked up 4 points. Riders already getting detached at the back here, and they could lose quite a lot of ground. Look at them, fragmenting significantly, evidence of hemorrhaging right at the back, but there's a lot of work now at the front. The business end is beginning to implode as riders are trying to forge their way forward to get the points.
Yeah, I can't see where Audrey Cordon is. She's could be coming up there on the right hand side.
Supporters on the right, you can see the British National Championship jersey there. Of course, Anna Barnes is the British champion. Haven't caught a glimpse of her so far, but at the moment there we are, evidence of different styles. Riders out of the saddle, others managing to climb in the saddle, and we've got problems here off the back.
Yeah, you can see all the different riding styles here. Christabel in silence, she's in the green helmet. She sits in the saddle, but you can see this Bigler rider here standing. Different styles with different riders suit them.
Just starting to gather themselves now, ready for the charge for the line. Bottles being grabbed as well.
Interestingly, you can see Ellen Van Dijk right at the front there, and she's actually not known as a climber. So, as I said, these kind of really steep gradients suit the more kind of sprinty climbers.
So Ellen Van Dijk, who is riding on Sunweb, you can see her on the extreme left in that white and black, and right in the middle is still the Polish champion.
And she's looking very comfortable, isn't she? No effort whatsoever. Audrey Cordon's there on her left in the wiggle outfit, black.
But this really is a hard climb, and riders being distanced off the back as well here, and that is Tulslate, the national champion of Lithuania. Now then, a big charge for the line here.
Yeah, look, Audrey Cordon's easily got this. She's got a very big gap now. She clearly wants this jersey. Look at that.
Well, over the line first is the French rider, the 27-year-old Cordon, and that means that she's taken both climbs, so a good day in the office for her. So she will have collected 10 points because this is categorised as a second cat climb, so there are points right down to 6, and there are the rest of the places confirmed for you. But it's been a great day for Cordon.
It has, hasn't it? And it's great for her. She's actually more of a domestique rider, so it will be really special for her to be on the podium and in that jersey all tomorrow.
So she will be the first wearer then of the Skoda Queen of the Mountains jersey, as we get a glimpse here of Knoll of the Netherlands. And we can now look at the back of the peloton. There's been a certain amount of regrouping as we confirm the position on the caption, and that position tells me that they are nearing Oundle for the second sprint of the day.
And that sprint's going to be really important. It's the last opportunity for them to gain seconds before the finish. 3, 2, 1 seconds.
confirming again, more riders abandoning, so it has been quite costly for one or two of the teams. That's Simpson, the 27-year-old, on the drop squad.
Yeah, you can see she's taking a gel there. It's obviously a very long stage, so it's really important to stay hydrated and to keep feeding.
And it'll be interesting to see whether Klein, who got first sprint at Desborough.
Oh, it looks like, yeah, Bigler are there on the front again doing a really good lead out. That's really strong.
And that's what I was just going to say. You took the words out of my mouth, Sharon. I was just going to say it'll be interesting to see whether Klein of Cervelo Bigler is going to figure strongly in the second sprint. And there we are. We've crossed the line to indicate that we're 1 kilometre away from the line.
They have gone quite early, though. There's still 1 kilometre to go. 4 riders there, one of them being Lisa herself.
Team lining out on the front. That's Cervelo Bigler in the white, as you can see. They've got 3 riders, and Klein's amongst that trio, so she's looking for the lead out.
Chantal Black's also there from Bulls Dolmans in the orange jersey. Very, very strong rider.
Pace beginning to ramp up significantly now. School kids out inevitably, cheering them on. And look at this, it's downhill slightly, so the pace is hot.
Yeah, interestingly, Chantal doesn't look like she's really putting much pace there. Oh, we've got riders on the car, not really allowed here.
Well, this is allowed at the front anyway, so let's concentrate on the sprint.
You see the Bigler have lost the train there, so...
It's Bowles Dolman on the front. Amy Peters is getting a lead out there.
There's also Wiggle there. I think Giorgia Bronzini.
And Amy Peters is a former stage winner in a tour a couple of years ago. So they're trying to place their rider at the head of affairs. Peters was third in sprint number 1.
Hey, Katie Archibald's coming out on the left here. She's in the red helmet with the very distinctive shoes.
Yeah, Katie Archibald once again getting involved, but here we are. This is the lunge for the line now, and on the extreme right it's Amy Peters, but Peters has now been overhauled significantly. Looks like Jolene Dore just about grabbed that one. The Belgian in the black strip riding on Wiggle High 5. We'll confirm the other places for you. But Jolene Dore was second in sprint number 1, and if that is right, in fact it is, so she will have scored 5 points. Klein coming in for second and Peters third, so it'll mean that at the end of the day Jolene Dore and Lisa Klein both have scored 5 points.
Yeah, which means they'll be tied.
And so that'll mean whoever finishes higher at the end in classification will get the jersey awarded. This is Oundle. Good crowds turning out here in Oundle. But it looks very much to me as though the pressure is now starting to unfold at the front.
Yeah, of course, after the sprint, things can get, it's quite good to ramp the pressure up, and you can see that's what WM3 are doing as Marianne Vos on the front there. It's often a time to catch riders out. The pace is really high. The ones who went for the sprint are tired, and you can often get gaps in the group.
Yeah, interesting to see that Marianne Vos was right on the front there, and also the Polish champion who's been having a great day today, and that's Nui Adoma were in the mix, sharing the workload, and it looks to me as though they may have a game plan here.
Yeah, Marianne's really going hard. You can see her talking to Nui Adoma there. It'll be interesting to see whether something's going to happen now.
Still quite a way out from the finish, so, and there's still quite a big peloton, so if somebody is going to try and make a move, they need to get company, as we look at the 3 riders at the back still trying to get back into the peloton. But look, the line is thinning down now here. That tells us that the pressure really is being applied,
and you can see it's pretty windy too. Riders are fighting for wheels,
and there is the lone leader going away. And from this shot here, it does look like the Polish champion. In fact, it is. So Nui Adoma is now trying to go away, and there's about 47 kilometres still left.
Yeah, that's a long way to go on your own. She's probably hoping that somebody had gone with her, but she's looking very committed.
Well, she's coming to this race with, well, she said she got some knee niggles, actually, but evidence of that effort doesn't tell me that there's any problems at all.
No, not at all. And you can see the peloton there's no reaction, and that's going to give her a chance to get some time up the road.
Well, Nieuwe Doma's had a good day. She was second at the top of Hasselbeck, the first climb, and she was fifth over Rockingham Hill, so she's been full of riding.
Yeah, I'm very surprised they've let this rider go. She's an incredible rider. She had 3 third places at Liège, Flèche and Amstel Gold Race, always coming to the finish in those 3 races with Anna van der Breggen and Lizzie Degnan. She's a very dangerous rider.
Well, she hasn't had a win this year, but as you just said, she's certainly been knocking on the door in the top events, getting onto the podium, and now she's settling down to the task in hand, but she could certainly do with a little bit of company, because trying to keep the peloton at bay for this distance to the finish is a big ask. We are inside the final 10 kilometres and we still have the lone leader here, Nieuwe Doma, the Polish national road and time trial champion. She had a lead at one point of 3.5 minutes. It's come down a tad, it's now 2.5, but at the moment there's no serious chasing being formed behind.
No, and this is such a dangerous move. She's a very good climber and tomorrow is a very hard stage, so if she can stay away, I think this could be the GC wrapped up.
Well, looking at the front of the peloton there, Sharon, it's Boels Dolmans, but they didn't really seem to be organised.
No, and I think they could have left it too late.
So would you consider this a tactical error on their part?
Yeah, definitely. It's just a rider I would not let go. It is incredible. And you can see now Lizzie Degnan's really ramping up the pace. Ale Cipollini's also coming there in the fluorescent jerseys. Oh, look how hard she's working.
She really is working hard, the leader, but just speculating a little bit more about this, tomorrow is a really tough stage, and Nieuwe Doma is a very good climber, so she could really profit big time from this if she can hang on.
Yes, I definitely think that. Nobody's dropped her this year on the climbs. It's just, as I said, in those races on the Ardennes week, she was with Lizzie Degnan and Anna van der Breggen, and only lost because they could play 2 against 1.
So looking at the teams at the front, a flick of the elbow there, that's from the rider of Canyon Schramm, calling through the member of the Ale Cipollini, and there are still evidence of Boels Dolmans, but they are not organised at all. Meanwhile, at the front, the leader, Nieuwe Doma, is really powering along.
Yeah, she's definitely going for this, 100% committed. And look, there's nobody really going that hard. That's I think that's Audrey Cordon on the front. She's of course got the mountain jersey already.
Yeah, so Cordon is now coming through for Wiggle High Five. Meanwhile, at the front, with the lead tumbling, it's down to just over 2 minutes now. Nieuwe Doma gulping in the air as she does try to profit from this move.
As I mentioned, Audrey Cordon was the domestic rider, and you can see now she's on the front working really hard for a Wiggle Honda team, despite the fact that she's also challenging for the mountain jersey.
Well, this rider here has had some superb places this season. Sharon mentioned it. She's been second in Strade Bianchi, she's been third in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, third in Amstel Gold, third in Flèche-Wallonne, but still looking for her first win of the season.
That's true, and I've seen the interviews from those races, and she was so disappointed to always get third in those races, so she's going to be very determined.
And just underlining my comment earlier on about being a good climber, she was 6th in Rio as well, and there was a torturous climb to be negotiated there, so the Polish champion doing the ride of her life.
And she is of course the Polish national time trial champion, which we mustn't forget.
5 kilometres to go, there it is, you can see on the left, and that will be a wonderful sight for her to see. So just 3 miles of racing left on this stage, and you know, it's looking very much to me as though she could do this.
I think it's going to be possible.
So the peloton, as you can see, bunching. There are a few at the front just lining out, but still no real pressure being applied.
I think the problem here, Hugh, is that nobody's committed to really doing the chase. None of the big teams want to take it on and waste their energy on the work, but I think there's been a big miscalculation here. She's very determined.
So the team of WM3 stand a very good chance of profiting from this. And I mean, should she get caught back, people like Marianne Vos will not be contributing to the pace here, and then she could have fresher legs to deliver in the finishing funnel.
That's right, and Marianne Vos has done so well in her last few races. She's won every single one, so she can sit content here, And Niewiadoma knows that Marianne's there for the sprint if she gets caught. This is a perfect situation for WM3.
Just a quick comment on the finish. We've finished in Kettering for the last 2 years, and it was Lotte Lepisto, the Finnish champion, that was the winner last year, and the year before it was the Luxembourg champion that threw her bike over the line ahead of the rest, and that was Christine Majerus, and she will be very, very familiar with the running.
That's right, and the running is very technical, and both those riders are known for finishing well when it's technical, hectic sprints. It's going to be a very gutsy rider. There's 3 roundabouts within the last kilometre, followed by a 650 metre descent, 200 metre rise, and a flat 150 metres to the finish. But if I was Niewiadoma, I'd be happy, because if you're approaching that on your own, you're much, much better.
She's got no worries at all. She can pick her line and arrive at the line in complete safety. That's, of course, assuming that she's going to hang on, but it's looking very much to me as though she's going to.
Oh, there's a wiggle rider gone off the front. It looks like it could be Audrey Cordon again.
So Cordon, full of riding. You've seen just how well she's performed on the climbs. Now it looks as though she's trying to distance herself from the peloton, but immediately there is a reaction from the team behind. That's Cervelo Bigla.
Yes, I think that's Clara Koppenberg there, and you can see Lisa Brenner, of course, the former winner of this race. She's in 3rd wheel now.
Brenner, the former world time trial champion, in 3rd position. Those are the signs she wants to see. 3 kilometres to go. So about 4 minutes, just over 4 minutes of racing left. Can she do it?
She's looking so committed. Now you can see there's still no organised chase by the teams. Audrey Cordon's there on her own. She's just sitting on the front, but you know, where are Bulls Dolmans now?
Yeah, they don't appear to be playing at the front, do they? I haven't seen one shot of Lizzie Deignan throughout the whole of the stage.
No, well, we did see her earlier, but you're not seeing her now, and you're not seeing any of that team, which, you know, on paper they're the strongest team here.
Well, they'll be thinking probably about tomorrow, where there are 2 very, very tough climbs, and Deignan, who won the Tour de Yorkshire over a very stiff moorland climb, will probably be thinking about the delivery there, so she's trying to save her legs.
You could just see there was Danny King on the front there for Silence. She's in the distinctive black and green there. Also, of course, did very well at the Tour of Yorkshire.
Olympic rings, you can see tattooed on the inside of the right wrist of the leader, and that just underlines my earlier stat when I said she was 6th in Rio. She's also 2nd in the Europeans, actually, to Anna van der Breggen.
And she was the young rider, young under 23 European champion.
Now then, look at that.
Pain. Yeah, shoulders are shaking. She's clearly working hard.
Yeah, pain beginning to creep all over her face now, mouth open as she's trying to gulp in the air.
And you can see her teammate there, Anuska Koska. She's just kind of getting in the way there to disrupt the chase, but even so, there's still no... Oh, there's an attack here.
So Anuska Kosta, she's 2nd wheel. She's the Dutch national champion.
But that's a wiggle rider. It looks like it could be Audrey Cordon again.
I think it is Cordon. So Cordon is very, very active here in the closing stages.
And 2nd wheel, you can see that's Anuska Koska. That's Niewiadoma's teammate. She's wearing the Dutch national championship jersey. She's just there disrupting the chase.
Well, nobody seems to really want to chase, do they? I mean, they're spreading out all over the road. And what about Orica? They haven't really brought their best team here, have they?
No, it's interesting. We noticed that Annemiek van Vleuten's not here, Amanda Spratt, and the national champion of Australia, Katrin Garfoot. The Giro's coming up. Some riders have taken this time to go to altitude to prepare specifically for the Giro.
Aerial shot of the field, as you can see, the riders just trying to work their way nearer to the business end of the peloton here, but it is at the moment Orica Scott that have got presence here, and so have WM3. But this is the approach now to the finish for our lone leader, and she knows now she's going to clinch this stage. What a ride by her. Niewiadoma, the Polish national champion, riding on the WM3 Pro Cycling team.
She's going to be so happy with this win. After 3 second places in the last 3 one-day World Tour races, this is incredible. Oh, look at the emotion.
Absolute stellar performance here. the personification of courage. She went away with about 47 kilometres to go. Who would have thought she could keep ahead for such a distance, but she's done just that, and the victory salute is already beginning to unfold here. There it is, she's holding the pigtail to the side, and massive salutes as she crosses the line. Brilliant win for WM3 Pro Cycling. The first win of the year then for Niewiadoma, the Polish champion. She's home and she'll be the first leader of this tour.
Yes, and then you could just see there the Sunweb are now ramping up. Of course, now it's only the race for second place, but those all-important seconds are still going to count.
Now then, let's have a look at the sprint for second.
This is Ellen van Dijk on the front now. She could be leading it out for Lucinda Brandt, who's also very good in these technical finishes. But you can see Ellen's gone so hard now, she's actually got a gap.
She has. She's distanced herself, but there's a big reaction now beginning to unfold from behind. Whoa, there was almost a crash there. Somebody, I think, just pulled their foot off the pedal and managed to stay upright as the rest now look for the charge then to the line.
You could see there Giorgia Bronzini, world champion in the Wiggle High Five jersey, and also Marianne Vos there.
So Marianne Vos, the multi-world champion, double Olympic gold medalist, and she was the first winner of this race in 2014, and she hits the front, and there's nobody going to get past Vos. Vos comes up to the line for second. Third then is Majuras, the Luxembourg champion.
Yeah, did you see Marianne won that easily, that bunch finish, and she even had time just to look behind her. Incredible. 1-2 for WM3.
Katarzyna Niewiadoma with a comprehensive victory, 1 minute and 42 seconds ahead of her teammate Marianne Vos in second, with Christine Majerus third. Alice Barnes was the best placed British rider, seventh. Katarzyna Niewiadoma takes the plaudits as the winner of the opening stage of the 2017 OVO Energy Women's Tour. And she was back on the podium to collect the Wiggle Points jersey. French rider Audrey Courdon-Ragot leads the Skoda Queen of the Mountains classification. The Iceberg Sprints jersey belongs to Germany's Lisa Klein. Lying 7th overall, Alice Barnes is the holder of the Adnams Best British Rider jersey. And our race leader and the first wearer of the OVO Energy Green jersey is Katarzyna Niewiadoma.
Well, many congratulations. That was a very brave move and a fantastic victory. How did it feel, particularly in that last 40, 50 kilometres all on your own?
Of course, at the beginning I thought, oh no, what have I done? Why I'm here alone and it's so long still to the finish line. So actually I wasn't sure if I can make it, but I said, okay, I'm here alone, I have to just keep pushing and see what is happening. And I felt strong today and I felt like also really motivated.
And his confirmation of the general classification, Katarzyna Niewiadoma has an advantage of 1 minute and 46 seconds over Marianne Vos, with Christine Majuras 2 seconds further back in third. Giorgia Bronzini heads a big group of riders at 1 minute 52 seconds.
Well, what a start to this year's OVO Energy Women's Tour. A windy day here in Kettering, all day in fact for the riders, and one rider in particular who was out in the wind for the last 40, 50 kilometres, Rochelle.
Well, that was so unpredictable for this race, because when it was windy this morning, it usually makes it really hard for a rider to go out there solo. And what we witnessed today from Katarzyna Niewiadoma was really impressive, a really impressive display of strength.
We said at the start of today, you can't win the race today, but you can lose it. Actually, has she won the race today?
It's very possible. I mean, today a lot of riders are going to be very fatigued tonight, but they're going to go home and try to recover because they have a lot of work to do. And Katarzyna Niewiadoma is one of the strongest riders in the world. So it's not going to be an easy task for any team to pull this back.
Why did the peloton not organise itself to chase back?
Well, that is the big question. Did they hesitate? Or did Kasia just go at the right time and she was stronger than the rest of the peloton put together? There's word that there was a little bit of hesitation in the peloton and no cooperation from the teams. But Kasia Niewiadoma is not a rider that you just let go. So I'm tending to think that she's done a really good preparation for this tour and she's a level above everyone else.
She certainly looked like that today. Kasia Niewiadoma will wear the leader's jersey tomorrow as we head to Stoke for stage 2. We'll see you then.